My time has just flown by. So what happened in the 80s, I think, stays in the 80s, which I know will be a very tough act to follow.
At 71, Gayle King finally revealed what William Bumpus did that made their divorce inevitable. "I cannot quite remember the name of the woman I caught naked with my then-husband on June 24, 1990 at 9:16 p.m. Those words did not come out of nowhere. To hear them properly, you need to know what Gayle King's life looked like in 1982. Gayle King was 28 years old, working her way up in local broadcasting at a time when Black women in television had to fight for every second of airtime. She was not famous yet, she was not rich. She was a woman with a microphone, a work ethic, and the kind of warmth that made everyone in the room feel like they mattered. William Bumpus was a lawyer. He was educated, well-spoken, and came across as someone who had his life together. When Gayle met him, she saw a man who could match her ambition, a man who could stand beside her while she built something real. They married in 1982. It was the kind of wedding that felt right. Two people with careers, with plans, with the sense that they were building something permanent. And for a while, it was. They had two children, a daughter named Kirby and a son named William Jr. Gayle was raising her family and building a broadcasting career at the same time. She would wake up before dawn, prepare for her local news segments, come home and be present for her children, and somehow find a way to keep the marriage running too. But here's the thing. She was the one holding it all together. She was the one showing up for every school event, every evening at home, every obligation that kept the family functioning. She was not just a wife and a mother. She was the engine. And William Bumpus, the man she had chosen to build this life with, was about to prove that he never understood what he had. Through the mid-1980s, Gayle and William looked like the couple everyone wanted to be. She was climbing in her broadcasting career, getting noticed by producers who saw something special in her delivery. He was practicing law, earning well, and the two of them were raising their children in a home that, from the outside, looked stable and full. Gayle was also building a friendship that would change her life. She had met Oprah Winfrey back in 1976 when they were both working at a Baltimore television station, and by the time Gayle married William, that friendship was already deep. Oprah saw something in Gayle that most people missed. Not just the talent, but the loyalty, the steadiness, the kind of woman who shows up when things get hard, not just when things are fun. And that is exactly what Gayle was doing in her marriage. She was showing up, year after year. While her husband went to work and came home, Gayle was managing two lives at once, the one in front of the camera and the one behind closed doors. By the late 1980s, they had been married for nearly 8 years. 2 healthy children, a home that worked, a career that was gaining momentum. Anyone looking at Gayle King's life in 1989 would have said she had it figured out, but somewhere, something shifted. And Gayle, being the kind of woman she is, probably knew before anyone else did. Looking back, Gayle has said very little about what the marriage looked like in those final years before everything fell apart. She has never spoken publicly about arguments, about distance, about late nights when William did not come home. She has been careful with her words, the way she always is. But there are things you can piece together. By 1989, Gayle was spending more hours at the station. Her career was demanding more from her, and the nature of broadcasting means early mornings, late evenings, and long stretches where you are physically away from home. And that is when the cracks become opportunities for someone who is looking for them. Now, here is where it gets uncomfortable, because what happened next was not a slow unraveling. It was not months of suspicious behavior or whispered phone calls that Gayle had to decode. It was not a paper trail or a credit card bill from a hotel she did not recognize. It was immediate. It was brutal, and it happened in the one place where Gayle King should have felt completely safe. On June 24, 1990, at exactly 9:16 p.m., Gayle King walked into her own bedroom, and there, in her bed, in her home, she found her husband naked with another woman. Think about what that means for a second. There was no rumor from a friend, no suspicious text message on his phone, no name she overheard in a conversation. She opened her bedroom door and she saw it with her own eyes. Her husband, another woman, her sheets, her home, the place where she tucked her children into bed. Gayle was 36 years old. She had 2 children sleeping down the hall. She had been at work all day, doing the things she did every day, building a career, serving her audience, being the responsible one. And she came home to that. The woman in the bed was never publicly named. Gayle has never said who she was. And honestly, it does not matter. What matters is the choice William Bumpus made. He did not go to a hotel. He did not take this woman somewhere else, somewhere separate from the life he had built with Gayle. He brought her into their home, into their bedroom, into the bed he shared with his wife, and it did not stop there. According to people close to the situation, this was not a single lapse in judgment. William Bumpus had been carrying on this affair for some time before Gayle walked in that night. The difference between June 23rd and June 24th was not that the affair started. The difference was that Gayle finally saw it. She has spoken about this moment in interviews over the years, and every time she tells it, two details remain the same. The date, June 24th, 1990, and the time, 9:16 p.m. She remembers it down to the minute. That is not a woman who is forgotten. That is a woman who burned that moment into her memory, because it was the exact second her marriage died. But here is why that matters. When she was later asked in a Vanity Fair interview who she despised most, she said she could not quite remember the name of the woman she caught naked with her husband. The date, she remembered. The time, she remembered. The woman's name, gone. And that tells you everything about how Gayle King processed this betrayal. She did not fixate on the other woman. She fixated on the truth. Her husband made a choice, and that choice destroyed their family. Do you see what she was doing? She was telling the world that the other woman was so insignificant to her story that she could not even bother to remember her name. The date stayed, the time stayed, but the woman who helped destroy her marriage? A footnote, barely worth a sentence. After that night, Gayle did something that will sound familiar to anyone who has ever been blindsided by betrayal. She tried to save the marriage, she went to counseling, she sat in a room with the man who had betrayed her in the most humiliating way possible, and she tried to find a path forward. Not for herself, for her children, for the family she had spent 11 years building. And William Bumpus sat in those sessions too. He said the right things. He made the promises that men make when they have been caught and they are terrified of the consequences. But here's the thing about trust. Once it shatters like that, in that specific way, in your own bedroom, it does not come back. You can glue the pieces together. You can try to pretend the cracks are not there. But every time you walk into that bedroom, every time you lie down in that bed, you see it. You see what was there before you. If you have ever tried to sleep in a bed where your trust was broken, you know exactly how impossible that feels. The counseling did not work. It could not work because the problem was not communication or scheduling or growing apart. The problem was that William Bumpus had taken the most intimate space in Gayle's life and turned it into the place where he humiliated her. For 3 years after that night, from 1990 to 1993, Gayle carried the weight of this marriage while raising 2 children, while building her career, while showing up every single day on television and pretending that her life was not falling apart behind the scenes. 3 years, picture that. 1,095 days of waking up next to a truth she could not undo, going to work, smiling for the camera, being the Gayle King that audiences trusted, and then coming home to a marriage that was already dead. And during those 3 years, while Gayle was doing the impossible, William Bumpus did not change. The counseling was not working because he was not doing the work. She was. She was always the one doing the work. In 1993, Gayle filed for divorce. 11 years of marriage ended, 2 children who had to learn what it means when a father breaks a family apart. A woman who had given everything she had to a man who gave nothing back when it mattered most. And here's the part that makes it personal. Gayle did not have the luxury of falling apart. She did not get to take 6 months off and grieve her marriage. She had bills to pay. She had children to feed. She had a career that required her to show up on camera with perfect composure every single morning, no matter what was happening inside her home. The world never saw her break, but she carried that weight in silence for years. Gayle has been remarkably restrained in how she has talked about this period of her life. She has never given a tearful interview. She has never written a tell-all book. She has never used her platform to destroy William Bumpus, even though she could have. But the pain was there. You could hear it in the precision of her words. When a woman remembers the exact minute her marriage ended, 30 years later, that is not casual recall. That is trauma. That is a wound that healed, but left a scar so deep she can still trace it with her fingers. She was 36 when it happened, and 39 when the divorce was finalized. Those are the years when you are supposed to be building the foundation of your life. Instead, Gayle was dismantling hers. She was selling a shared home, dividing possessions, explaining to her daughter Kirby and her son William Jr. why their father would not be living with them anymore. And she did all of it while maintaining the most grueling schedule in broadcasting. Early mornings, long days, public appearances, all with a smile that never cracked. Here is what I keep thinking about. The loneliest part of Gayle's story is not the night she walked into that bedroom. It is the 3 years after. The 3 years she spent trying to fix something that was already destroyed. 3 years of counseling sessions where she was the only one actually trying. 3 years of going home to a man she could not trust and pretending, for the sake of her children, that everything was fine. That is not weakness. That is a mother who was willing to suffer privately so her children could have stability. And when she finally realized that the stability was an illusion, that the marriage was gone no matter how hard she tried, she made the hardest decision a mother can make. She chose herself. And in doing that, she chose her children too. Because children do not need two parents under one roof. They need at least one parent who refuses to live a lie. The divorce was finalized in 1993. After 11 years of marriage, Gayle walked away. And unlike the mega celebrity divorces you hear about today, this was not a billion-dollar settlement. This was not a battle over mansions and private jets. Gayle King was not yet the household name she would become. She was a local broadcaster in her late 30s with 2 children and a career that was still growing. She took custody of both children, she kept working, she kept building, and she did it without the safety net that a wealthy ex-husband might provide. William Bumpus was a lawyer, not a mogul. The financial reality of their divorce was not glamorous. It was a woman starting over in her 40s with 2 kids and a determination to make it work. But here is why that matters. Every dollar Gayle King earned after 1993, she earned on her own. Every career milestone, every promotion, every step closer to the CBS morning show anchor desk, she did that without William Bumpus. She did not get a settlement that set her up for life. She got a fresh start and a broken heart, and she turned those 2 things into a career that would eventually make her one of the most recognized faces in American media. And just when you think this story is over, just when you think William Bumpus faded into irrelevance, something happened 26 years later that nobody expected. In 2016, William Bumpus broke his silence. Publicly, he released a statement that said, "I have been haunted with this life-altering choice. Though I have dealt with this privately, I publicly apologize for the major transgression that dramatically changed all of our lives." 26 years of silence, and then that haunted, life-altering, major transgression. Those are not the words of a man who has moved on. Those are the words of a man who has been watching his ex-wife become everything he never helped her become. After the divorce, Gayle King did not retreat. She advanced. She threw herself into her career with the kind of focus that only comes from a woman who has lost everything except her own self-respect. By 2006, she was on satellite radio with Will Smith, talking openly about what happened. And what she said was remarkable. She said, "I was married to a cheater. I went to marital counseling. I have been divorced since 1993, so I am all healed and everything. I have worked it out. I am not bitter." She was not Gayle King, the woman who got cheated on. She was Gayle King, the broadcaster, the journalist, the woman who Oprah Winfrey called her best friend for 40 years, the co-host of CBS Mornings, the woman who sat across from presidents and prime ministers and never flinched. By 2024, at 70 years old, she told interviewers she was still looking for her great love story. Not because she was desperate, because she believed she deserved it. Because after everything William Bumpus put her through, she still believed in love. And honestly, that might be the bravest thing about her. There is something about a woman who refuses to let the worst night of her life become the rest of her life. She did not let one man's betrayal at 9:16 p.m. on a Tuesday in 1990 define the next 35 years. She did not let the humiliation of being cheated on in her own bed become her identity. If you have ever walked into a room and seen something that changed everything you thought was true, you know exactly what that costs a person. Did Gayle King wait too long to leave, or did she leave at exactly the right time? Drop your take in the comments. If this story hit you, smash the subscribe button. We have another story coming that you will not want to miss. She has never once said a word against William Bumpus publicly. She did not have to. His own apology said it for her.